Okay, so we're going to talk about the syllabus here, and we're going to simply click on the PDF. And then I want to go through in detail everything in the syllabus so we're all kind of understanding how the course is going to work. So at the top here, this is a template that's going to be typical of the syllabuses that you see here at WCTC. So we're going to be meeting for this course on the 3 nights that we talked about: Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And Monday is going to be our like 2-hour section, if you would, almost 2 hours. And then on Thursday or on Tuesday and Thursday, it's going to be almost 4 hours. It's a 3-hour class, and there's a total of 80 hours within this 8-week time frame of fall 2. So basically what you're going to be doing is learning the basics of 3D modeling using a parametric package called Creo. Okay, and our current version of Creo is going to be Creo 9.0. I'll talk about that a little bit later, because if you want to get the free college student download, there is the version 10 out there, but you won't be able to go like backwards compatible with our computers. We're actually one version behind. So you want to get the version 9 when you go out there, okay? Just so that you're aware. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Prerequisites for this class were that tech drafting class that you had previous to this, whether that was in fall 1 or at a previous time. Now, there are 2 textbooks that we require. Okay, 2 textbooks that we require. One is the tech drafting one. You would have gotten this in that tech drafting class, so you don't need to rebuy this, but we will be taking information out of here, okay, and doing some modeling with some of these things. The other book that you have is the Creo parametric tutorial, okay? So this is going to be the other book that we're going to be using. And then I have some additional resources too in the form of handouts that I'm going to be referencing as well. So make sure that you get those, and they're available. Additionally, some things that you're going to want to have and bring to class each week are going to be a flash drive, a calculator, pencil. Now, if you plan to be off campus and working, you're going to want to have a laptop or a computer with a webcam if you're planning to be virtual. We'll talk about the virtual option in just a little bit, and then internet access. Again, just for the flexibility off campus. Instructor, it's me, it's Kelly Riba is going to be your instructor. I can be reached via email at kriba@wctc.edu. And then I have my mobile phone here where you can call and or text me as well. Those are really the 2 fastest way to get a hold of me, with texting being the actual fastest. I will do my best to respond to you within 24 hours. I'm usually pretty good, but don't be afraid to remind me, because if you're working on something, sometimes you kind of want to know the answer right away. So if I can help you and I'm, away from campus, I certainly will. I say that I don't guarantee your response on weekends or after 8 p.m. I don't guarantee that I'm going to be back to you in 10 minutes. Okay. But I will respond to you. So feel free to text me anytime if that's what you need to do. There is going to be a Zoom link that you can access to do like a virtual option for our lectures as well. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then my office is located directly across the way in the office areas on the other side of the hallway here. Okay. If you ever need to meet with me. And then I have office hours right now on Wednesdays and Fridays, kind of immediately after this class, but by appointment as well. And we can kind of figure that out between us if those times don't work for you. Now, what are we going to learn in this class? There's a number of things, and I don't want to read through all of these, but primarily we're going to be working on creating parts, models, drawings of those parts that can be released to production, similar to what you did in the tech drafting class, and then also assemblies, and kind of going through, if you would, the stuff you learned in AutoCAD and tech drafting, but doing it all in Creo, the modeling software, okay, and learning how to do that. So continuing to reinforce the good standards, the good dimensioning practices, and all those sorts of things, okay? Critical life skills. At WCTC here, being a student working through our programs, we make sure that beyond just the skills and the subject matter, there's kind of like some other big things that we make sure that you get. And those are the 4 that you see here: good communication skills, critical thinking and problem solving, developing relationships, inner relationships among yourselves, as you're a student in a classroom, and then also self-management or time management. In our classes in the mechanical design and the mechanical engineering technology programs, we kind of hit all 4 in almost every single class that we do. So, so you guys get a lot of this all the time, which is going to be the case in this program as well, or in this course as well. As a program, the programs are always going to have what we call program outcomes. So by the time you get done with the entire program, 2 years, you are going to be able to document a design concept in 2D and 3D CAD. So we're going to continue to practice that in this class. Generate technical documents so that you can do them to the standards, or that you can document them to the standards so that they can be made out in industry. And then also resolve mechanical design problems. Those are all things that we're going to be touching in this class alone. Okay. Additionally, external standards that we're going to be addressing are going to be that ANSI standard of dimensioning. So the ASME or Y 14.5 2018 standard, the current one that's being used out in industry right now. And so that is kind of like our graphical language that we're learning in order to communicate and make sure that we can get parts manufactured and assembled appropriately. When we look at technology, what are the requirements for technology outside of what we have here? There really aren't any, because we have the computers and the softwares right here in the labs. Actually, both this lab and the lab next door, or 2 doors down, I should say, in 206, have all of the software loaded for you. So you don't have to go out and buy a computer and that's capable of running our software, the Creo software, unless you want the flexibility. And some people already have a computer. If you're a gamer and you do some gaming on the side, a gaming computer is actually perfect for the type of graphics that we deal with parametric design software. If you have a computer at home and you want to run it on, you certainly can try, but there are minimum requirements. And when we get to the Canvas portion where there's the link for getting the free student download, you'll be able to kind of check out what those requirements are. I always say, though, it's worth trying, even if it's a little bit older version. It might work okay, because the software manufacturers are going to give you the minimums so that it performs well, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to run okay on there either. So it's always worth a try. So I like to say there's no additional technology required unless you want the flexibility, okay, of working off campus. As far as technology related skills, so a solid and a good understanding of navigating like Microsoft Windows applications, and then also using, AutoCAD. Having that AutoCAD experience is going to come in handy because of the things that we learned in that class. If you need any help technology-wise on or off campus, we do have a help desk here at WCTC that can help you. So the information to call them is here during their normal business hours. There's also an email as well as their page. They have some frequently asked questions there that might be able to help you get unstuck potentially, but they're always a really good resource for technology, like I said, on or off campus. How will you be graded? So 100% module homework assignments. So if you had me for that tech drafting class, very similar. We're going to have modules each week that we're going to be working on. There's going to be assignments associated with those. You're going to continue to hand in, and then you'll be graded on those. No tests, no quizzes for this class. Okay. The grades, you're going to be getting individual grades for each of those homework assignments. And then you also have unlimited attempts to make corrections. So if you get some points off when you submit, you can go ahead and make those corrections in order to improve your grade. Okay. The grading scale is going to be the typical one for WCTC. So we follow this one. And then as far as getting feedback or graded assignments, I like to have them done within, I say, 3 school days. But for those of you who have had me, it's a little bit sooner than that normally. At least I try to be, okay? Unless, something's out of my control or if I have a lot going on outside of class. But I try to get that back to you right away. I feel like, especially in a class like this, we're working within a confines of 8 weeks. We're kind of getting through a lot of material. And each module kind of builds one on the next. So I want to be sure that you're getting that feedback so you know how you're doing, and then correcting things as needed before moving on. So, so you can expect me to be pretty good about the grading. Course policies. So how often do you need to be here? Well, attendance for our classes is required, and I take attendance every time we're together. Okay. Now, this can either be in person here at WCTC, Primarily, I'm going to be here on a regular basis. Okay. I might schedule a virtual off campus here and there, but for the most part, the days that we're here, you'll know, well in advance if I plan to be virtual, or via email if I have to do it at the last minute for some reason. Our lecture time is going to be a time for you to gain an understanding of the concepts and also get my demonstrations for the homework that you're going to be doing. Okay. Creo is not an easy software. I'm just going to say that right away. Creo is not an easy software. If you're going to spend any really good time on this stuff, right here in the beginning is the most important thing, because if you're not really comfortable and solid on these things, it's just going to build and get harder, and you're going to get frustrated as we move along. You need to spend the time on the practice. I'm not going to lie, when you had me for AutoCAD, I kind of assign a lot, but remember, there's no tests or quizzes. I'd rather use that time for the extra practice. Okay. And in here, to get that muscle memory and to really understand the software and feel comfortable with it, it takes repetition. Okay, it just does. So that's what my lectures are going to be for you. They're going to be nice demonstrations so that you can get, how to do these things, get a good understanding and the fundamentals under your belt. Now, if you choose to be in virtual and not in person, I am requiring that you have a working webcam if you choose to be off campus. It's not because, and I'm going to tell you, it's not because of any reason that I think people are goofing around or they're not really there and they're just, there's nobody there. It's just that I want you to feel part of the class. I said, and sometimes if we just have like the shadow of a person in the background, it doesn't really seem like it's a real person, or doesn't feel like you're part of the group. So even if you're virtual, I do want you to have that webcam on. That's going to be a requirement in fall 2 here, because I want to be able to communicate with you and kind of see what's going on. All right. Just like anything else, you've got those nonverbal skills. I can read a room pretty good. I've been teaching for about 24 years, and I can read a room when there's time for a break, when people are confused and things like that. And I don't want people that, if they're virtual, it's out of convenience or flexibility, or sometimes it's out of necessity. Okay. That way they don't have to miss class, and that's okay. But I also want to be able to give you the best experience possible. Okay. And I really believe that the webcam is going to help that along a lot. So make sure that you have that before you, decide to go virtual. All right. Okay. So when I perform the demonstrations in class, they are mimicking how I'm expecting you to hand the homework in. Okay. So by being present during these times, by paying attention, by doing the examples along with me in class, you are going to, kind of know how things are supposed to be handed in. So make sure that you're, on task with that. If you're unable to attend, please notify me via email, not text. Okay. Only because email to me is like kind of an official record, if you would. Text is more for that, kind of in between short communication. So make sure that you email if you're not going to be in class, and make sure that it's before class starts. Then you're considered an excused absence. You get 1 excused absence without any penalty. After that, it's 2% off of your grade. Okay. If you're unable to attend, but you don't let me know, that's an unexcused absence, and those are 5%, meaning if you don't let me know before class starts, and let's say you email, 2 hours later, that is not an excused absence. That's after the class has started. Because remember, here at WCTC, we're setting you up for success in your career later on. So when you're working for an employer, you don't necessarily have to say why you're not going to be there, but you have to report that you're not going to be at work. Okay. So you need to report to me that you're not going to be here. Again, getting used to, what's expected of you out in industry as well. Okay. And it's a professionalism. Okay. So that's that. Now, if you can't make it, I will always be recording our sessions and posting them. And as long as the recordings work, there's been a couple times here and there where they maybe haven't worked, but for the most part, it's pretty successful here on, as I record them through Zoom. I will post them in the modules. Okay. So for those who have had me in the past, you know where those are at. All right. So you can always catch yourself up on those. And that's my expectation. The recordings are out there so that you can see the full lecture and get all of the information. If you come to class the next time and say, oh, I wasn't here, did I miss anything? That's like an annoyance to me. Okay. Because I'm like, yeah, you guys know there is a recording, and the expectation is that you're going to watch that recording to catch yourself up, okay? And then you get the complete picture. It's not me doing a 5-minute overview of what we covered, and then you really have to still sift through it by yourself. So those are there as a resource. Now, if you're here in class, you don't have to ever look at those videos ever, okay? Or if you're virtually live, you never have to look at them. But I also find students sometimes go back and relook at them to remind themselves or update themselves on maybe what we had talked about, okay? So they're kind of nice for that as too, to kind of go over things. So they're there for you. Late work. You can submit things after the due date. I have dates that I call target due dates, okay? Now, target due dates are always going to be due at the end of the week that we go over things, okay? So, for instance, the module 1 homework is going to be due this Friday, okay? Now, the days that we have in between here are going to be getting you ready to hand those in. Now, that's a target due date, meaning that if you need a little bit of extra time to get those done, you can have it, okay? You don't have to ask me, can I have a little bit of extra time? There will be no penalty for handing in after it, because you're going to find that there are going to be some sections, some modules that are going to be easier for you to go through. And there's going to be some that are going to be a little bit longer to go through for whatever reason, okay? So I don't want you to be like, I have to have this done on Friday at 11:59, and I am randomly picking Friday. Friday might not be a very good day for you because you work all day on Friday and I'm not going to have time to get stuff in. Then do it on Saturday. Do it on Sunday, okay? I don't care. It's just that I'm putting the due dates out there so that they're a pacing guide for you, so that at the end of the semester, you have everything done. So if you hang right around those target due dates, you're going to be totally fine, and you're not going to be trying to catch up at the very end, okay? Because the last day of the class is the last day of the class. There is no handing in after that, final day. There's no making any more corrections to things. You are done at that time, okay? So don't expect, that I'm going to give you an extension, because I necessarily can't, actually, because we have to get our grades in by a certain time as well. So, so know that our hard and fast due date is really the last day of the class. Target due dates inside of here, but don't let them kind of, bunch up on you, because it's going to be hard to catch up if you fall too far behind. Okay, but take the flexibility, a little bit of extra time if you need it to hand in. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Also, on those assignments, if you have any points that are taken off, you can make the corrections for the points back. So you have unlimited tries to improve your grade on those homework assignments, okay? And that's exactly what I want you to do, because so often, if you do make a mistake on something or you forget something and you make that correction, it's kind of like it gets in here and you never forget that again, or it's a reminder the next time you come up against it that you're not going to forget that. So I think it's really important. I think it's a great way to reinforce the learning. So you do have that opportunity to also make those adjustments and improve your grade on each one of the assignments. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is an unscientific observation, and I've been teaching for 24 years. So I'm just started teaching here at WCTC, but I've been teaching in the mechanical design program up at a different college called Lakeshore Technical College for the last 24 years. And I will tell you, and this goes across the board, students who attend on a regular basis, whether it's in person or virtually live, and you hand in your work as close to or right on those target due dates, you'll earn the highest grades in the class. Just telling you. I see it all the time. If somebody lets themselves fall behind too far and they try to catch up, it's really hard. It's really hard because you're trying to cram all of this information in at once, okay? All of us have been in that situation. I've done it, okay? When I was in school, if I had the opportunity, I didn't have to have it in, I tended to let it maybe go a little bit. But in a class like this, when you are looking at building a skill and understanding a very complex software, Creo is not easy, all right? I don't want to scare you, but I want you to be realistic. This isn't going to be like this all the time, okay? If it is, that's great. It wasn't like that for me, and I've been working with it for quite some time, okay? And I'm still learning things about it. It's complex, but this is one of those softwares that you can't just cram the information in and then feel comfortable with it. All right. It takes, I used to have a dean, they used to say this, it takes soak time. Sometimes you need it to kind of marinate a little bit before it actually makes sense. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience when you do something the first time, the second time, it doesn't really make sense. But then all of a sudden that third and fourth, oh, it's starting to like make, you know, a little bit more sense. Okay. That's the learning process. And if you allow too large of gaps in between, you're never going to get in that rhythm or that flow. Okay. So I really encourage you, this is really serious, like students who attend on a regular basis and make that commitment and make those due dates as close as possible, you will get a really good grade in my class. Okay. You will. You'll have earned it. You will. Okay. Learning. And so any questions about that? Any questions about virtual, live, in person, target dates? I know it might be a little bit different than some other classes that you have. I encourage everybody to at least try, even if it's not your main mode of communication, try to get the virtual live going so that you know that it works with a webcam, because we never know when it gets to be November, December, school might not be canceled, but I might not want to drive here if I don't have to. And if we can do a virtual live to keep everybody at home and safe and off the roads, I would much rather do that than make people come to campus or feel like you have to come to campus. Now, with that said, if I end up saying I'm going to be virtual, this lab will still be open. Okay. So if this is your only place to work because you don't have the option at home, first of all, if it ends up being like a weather event and you're like, even if, because I don't know how it works really here at WCTC when it comes to night classes. I don't know how apt they are to cancel classes if the roads are bad. My other college was pretty lenient on it and they would be pretty good about it. But I also want you to err on the side of caution, knowing that I'll be recording the videos, okay, whatever I go over. So if anybody feels uncomfortable and you're like, I really don't want to drive to class, I probably won't charge you, if you would, an excused absence if you let me know ahead of time, because it is a weather thing, okay? And then know that you'll have the video to rely on to update yourself. So don't get too worried about that. I never want anybody to come to class if you don't feel comfortable on the road, especially in the winter, okay? So no questions, target dates, virtuals, anything like that.
I just have a comment about the email communications. You mentioned that you send emails out through announcements.
Yeah.
Last class when I had you, I did not get any of those emails.
I know, why would, and I think Lex, I remember like I asked other people in class, remember, and they're like, yeah, we got them.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe I'll do did you get the announcement from this one? You didn't get that either. Did other people get the announcement? Corinne's going yes. Jacob's going no. Are you like, if you check right now on your email, is it there? It would have been from early last week. Corinne, you got it?
Yeah.
For this class? Anybody else know they got it? You got it?
I'll have to recalibrate my email then, because
Emily, you got it? Okay. It doesn't sound like you're the only one. You didn't get it. Because I send it like as an announcement, right? And it sends it out to everybody. I assume it sends it out to everybody. I'll have to find out about that. You don't either, Josh?
I didn't see it until today.
You saw it today?
I didn't see like the announcement until class.
So you didn't get an email on it?
No.
All right.
It'll usually pop up as a notification.
Yeah. Okay.
The
We'll practice that, but I'm going to also see if there's anything on my end that I need to make sure that it gets out to everybody, or if there's another way that I can do that. Okay. So I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Okay. Thank you. I have it written down to follow up on that. Late work, target due dates. Okay. Learning environment etiquette. So, basically my expectations for you is just like in any other class, we want to keep this a really nice, good learning environment. So first and foremost, WCTC maintains a student conduct code, and that's part of the handbook. And you being a student here need to abide by this. So there is a link here for you to go through it. I'm not going to go through it here. But couple things that I just want to make sure that we're all aware of is just be ready to work when we come to class. And I know you guys are all really good about that. Come to class with any pre-work done. I usually don't assign reading, but if in between, for instance, if, watch this video or read this chapter or something like that, try to have that done before you come to class because it will probably start working. Be respectful of others by refraining from chatting to other students while others are asking or answering questions or when I'm actively lecturing, okay? During our open work times, and you will have work time to work on the assignments that we have, I just expect that the conversations are kept low and that the subjects that we're talking about are either on task or are not of a personal nature, okay? Meaning we want to stay away from those, highly charged types of subjects like religion, politics, sex, race, and I'll kind of remind you if I kind of hear it going on. I want to make sure that everybody, feels like this is a good, comfortable environment and we don't need any of that in our classroom. Feel free to ask any questions as they come up when I do my demonstrations and lectures, okay? No swearing in my classroom, please. Again, that's another level of professionalism that we want to get you used to as you go out in industry, okay? So no swearing in my classroom. And then also always applying the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. So, think about responding to people or helping other people out. If you would want that same type of treatment in return, then that's probably going to be a good thing to do to somebody else. Personal electronic devices. Okay, so I don't mind if you bring your own laptops or if you have your phone or even a tablet in class, that's totally fine. Just make sure that it's not a distraction and that you're on task with whatever we're working on. So I can't see your screens from this view, okay? But people in back of you can. And if you're not doing the work that we're all doing here, you're distracting other people. I've been in classes like that or in seminars and things like that. And it really is distracting to other people. So believe it or not, people can see what's going on. So just refrain from that. And then if you get a phone call, for instance, while we're in class here, just feel free to take it outside. You can just get up and walk out and don't worry about it. I don't expect you to put those away or be completely unavailable to, people who need you outside of class. That's okay. But then just, excuse yourself and go, and take your phone call outside. It's not a problem. You don't have to ask me to leave or anything like that. The other one, I just find it interesting sometimes. You don't have to ask me to go to the bathroom either. Just go. If you need to take a break or use the restroom, whatever it might be, you can just get up and leave. Even when I'm talking, it's totally fine. Other policies, correcting module homework assignments. I encourage you to make those corrections. You have unlimited tries to do that. I have correcting unit assessments. We don't have any unit assessments in here. That was for a different course that I was teaching. So you can, not worry about that. Extension, there are no extensions after the end date of our course to finish or make corrections to any work. So make sure that that's our hard and fast one, but inside of our class, target due dates for the modules. Communication, my email or my mobile. If you're caught cheating in this class, you will get an F, okay? Believe it or not, I'm not going to tell you how I know you're cheating, but it's not that hard, okay? So if I suspect it, I start looking, doesn't take me long, and I can figure it out. So just don't do your own work. If you remember, we have target due dates. Usually people I found in the past will cheat when they don't want to miss a due date because they'll get points off or whatever it might be. You don't have that, okay? Take the little bit of extra time so that you get done with the work. Don't cheat, okay? I know you hear it, you're cheating yourself, but you truly are. You truly are, okay? Because in the end, when we start with this, 3D parametric software, there's another advanced class, and then there's going to be some more design classes. So this is kind of the beginning. This is where you really want to spend the time and make sure you know that information, because as you build in the other classes, all of a sudden it's going to be fun and not frustrating. Okay. Outside of class work, you can expect outside of class work. This is an associate degree level class. So for every class hour that we are here, it is not unreasonable to expect in 1 or 2 hours for each hour you're here. So for instance, like tonight, it's 2 hours that we're here. And if I would assign you something, you could expect anywhere from 2 extra hours to 4 extra hours of outside of class work. Okay. All right, so just know, some weeks you won't need that at all. Other weeks you might need a little bit of extra time, just depending on the subject, and everybody is different in that learning process. Okay. The virtual live Zoom sessions. So please see the course calendar for on-campus and virtual days. Right now, I don't have any virtuals scheduled. I would let you know well in advance if it seems like that's going to be the case. I'll always broadcast live from either the classroom or from my home, but I'll let you know that. Right now, I'm planning on being here mostly at WCTC. If you choose to be virtual, you must have that working webcam, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to be considered present, all right? Additionally, here are other resources that we have here at WCTC to help you along. If you need anything, let myself or you can contact these services, handbook stuff, student conduct code, all that kind of thing. And at the very end here, this is kind of a rough schedule for us, kind of looking at the modules corresponding to the weeks that we have. A couple dates for you to be aware of. Number one, we are not going to have class on November 7th. That is a Tuesday. Okay, so I think it's in 2 Tuesdays. We are not going to have class. All right. And then I think that's it. I think that's it for this class. Okay. And if anything changes, I will let you know. But yeah, just that one for right now. That's a Tuesday. Any questions right now, syllabus wise? Excited? Isn't this going to be good? Isn't it fun? Yes, it is, Jacob. It's so fun starting a new class. Hans was like, yes, I can't wait. I think. I don't know. I don't know if I was reading him right. Tyler is. He's like excited. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. So as we kind of look beyond the syllabus, you'll notice that down below here are going to be modules. This is really where you're going to kind of spend most of your time. And this is where I have going to have all the information kind of organized. So as we look at our modules here, oops. Oh, I didn't open this up for you guys. Hold on. Here's publish my module and all the elements. So now you should see week 1, module 1. Is that right? Do you see it now? Okay. So this is where we're going to be getting into the fun information. But before we get down there, you'll notice that there's a link here to the student handbook. That's for your reference. There's also a link to the fall 2023 academic support area, so that if you do need any additional support outside of class, for those who are maybe taking some math classes, writing classes, I mean, it's really kind of geared towards the gen ed classes, but if you do need a peer tutor, you can apply for one there as well. Here's the off-campus access to Creo. So here, if we click on this link, as a college student enrolled in a class that is related to Creo, you can get a free copy download for 1 year. Okay, for 1 year. So you would, if you need it like next year for the advanced class, if this doesn't have to have, if you don't happen to have a current license, or if this expires, you can always re-download. It's not a problem. So in our classroom here, we are using Creo 9.0. The current version that's out, as I had mentioned earlier, is 10. So when you go out to do your downloading, don't pick 10, okay? Because again, it's not reverse compatible. If you start drawing in 10, you won't be able to pull it up on the computers here. 10 is pretty darn similar to 9, so there's not going to be a lot of different functionality wise. But again, if you want to work in both places, it's not gonna pull up here. We do have Creo 9.0 in this room and also in 206. Okay. Now, when we are working on Monday nights, if you're here, we have a 2-hour time slot. Okay. At 7 o'clock, I have class in 206. It's going to be kinematics class. All right. You can stay here and work longer in the lab if you want to, just so that you know. So if you're kind of working and you're going and you're like, oh man, time flies when you're having fun, and you want to continue to work and kind of get done with things, you can stick around because I'll be just down the hallway. Okay. And then you can leave whenever you're done. And then I'll close up the room when I'm done for the evening, because I'll be done. I have another 2 hours with that class on Monday nights. Okay. So, so just so that you know, if you wanted to take advantage of that. And also keep in mind, this is an option. You don't have to, it's not a requirement to download the Creo on a computer for you to have off campus. We have them here. Okay. So, so I don't want anybody to feel the pressure that they have to go out and get a computer or anything like that. But if you happen to have a computer that can run it, great. And then you can add that flexibility. And then we've got our modules. Our modules are going to kind of look like this each and every week. So you'll notice that I'm always going to have like a part 1, part 2. Now we meet 3 times a week. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to perfectly be 2 lectures and then one of the days is going to be a lab day. It just kind of depends on the week. Okay. So, so plan on having an active lecture 3 days a week. All right. And then we'll kind of on each, you know, maybe Tuesday, we'll know what Thursday looks like. Okay. So for right now, I've got part 1 and part 2 out here for Creo. And then I'm going to have, I usually have like a session recordings folder so that you can go right there and you can see them all, but I also have them part of 1 and 2. And then any assignments that you're going to be assigned. So we'll talk about these as they come up. You'll notice so that's kind of our modules. You'll notice these kind of populate week by week as we continue on in the class. So, so I have this one out here for you right now and available. Then over on the left-hand side down below is going to be your Zoom link. So if you are off campus and want to do the virtual live lecture, that is going to be where you're going to go to click on the link. And then you're going to be your grades. I don't have any discussion boards out there. I never do them. I don't like them. I don't want to read them. I never liked them as a student. So don't worry, no discussion board. Don't you hate that? Look, when you, and I shouldn't say that in a bad way, but I always remember feeling the pressure. Like I had to get mine out there sooner than later because otherwise somebody else would take my comment and you always had to comment on 2 people's or have 2 questions. And it's like, okay, don't worry. I don't do any of that. So no discussions, but your grades are going to be here and those are going to continue to populate. Now, I do want you to know as the class goes along, and this was something that I did in the tech drafting class as well, that because we have target due dates and because you don't get penalized for it, I wait about 2 weeks. And if you haven't handed something in for 2 weeks, you may see a 0 populate. Okay. And the only reason I do that is not for penalty or it's not telling you can't hand something in. It's just to give you a more accurate reflection on how you're actually doing. Because I don't want anybody to get to the end of the class and they had an A because they only handed in 4 of the 12 assignments, but really that's not an A. Okay. So I want to give you an accurate picture. And it's also maybe to prod you along a little bit to be like, oh, look here, you're not doing this, but you can still submit for full credit over the top of that 0. Okay. So don't feel like you can't. And I don't want anybody to think that it's a penalty. I just want us all on the same page on where you're at. Okay. So, so that may happen and your grades are going to be where you see that. And I don't think, I mean, besides all the other links, they're kind of standard. Any questions about Canvas at the moment? Okay. So that's my course overview. So since I've been talking for almost an hour, we will take a break. So I'm going to stop recording here.